Yes.
Alrighty, I think we're live now, so let's go ahead and start up, guys. So my name is Matt Storms. Welcome back again. This is our 93rd Webmaster Search Helpdesk Hangout. We've been doing these now for over 2 years, so thanks for joining us. It's kind of cool to think we've been doing it this long, and I don't know how many more years we'll keep doing it. I'm just going to keep doing them every Friday until I think everybody just quits. But every time it just looks like more people want to go and participate, which is awesome. And so I'm excited about this, and it always gives me something to look forward to at the end of the week, and I hope it gives you guys something to look forward to as well. A good way to end the week on. So there's a lot of news that came out this week. We can talk about that. I chided Barry a little bit the other day, and I said, I want to do a site audit as well. And he says he hates site audits, and I said, well, I think that we should be doing them in the Hangout. We should do at least like one site. And he said, okay, let's pick on me. I said, okay, done. So we're going to pick on Barry today. So in the beginning, I said we talk about some news, and then we are going to go ahead and rip Barry's site apart. And Wissam, you want to tell us what Barry's site is? Because I know you love to quote
it. SEOroundtable.com.
There you go. So let's do introductions first. As I said, my name is Matt Storms. I'm in the far right corner here, it looks like, so I'm going to go first. I'm a Search TC, SEO expert witness. I love SEO. I love fixing websites. That's what I do. I get goosebumps by fixing people's websites. I literally jones on it. All right, so Wissam, next.
I'm Wissam Denda from Daytona Beach, Florida, international SEO consultant.
Sash.
No, I guess I'm seeing you guys in a different order. Anyway, I'm Sash Mayer. I'm a SEO disaster recovery specialist. I basically clean up Google penalties, manual actions for corporate and medium businesses all over the world.
Okay, and then Robert?
I'm a 10-year-old SEO consultant. That's it.
Did you say
10 years old?
I've been doing it for 10 years.
Okay.
You must have that condition where you age prematurely, right?
I was about to say, did you confuse me for a second there on that one? Okay, Michael.
Hey there, it's Michael Klein. I'm an SEO analyst to be found online here in Chicago.
Outstanding. And you're not 10 years old. You look a little bit older.
No, I'm like 12.
There you go. And Eric?
Eric Wu, SEO here over at Spin Media, and I was the former SEO over at Demand Media on eHow.
Okay. Brian?
My name is Brian Esri. I'm an SEO consultant and a top contributor in the Webmaster Help Forum, and I help people acquire more conversions from organic search.
Good answer. I like that elevator pitch there. Barry.
I'm Barry. Today I'm here to figure out how I can make my site SEO friendly.
Outstanding. Grammar, dude. That's a big thing. Grammar. We're going to talk about grammar today.
Oh, nice.
And then the man who is the most loudmouth person in here, he talks the most. We're going to have to tell him to be quiet because he talks too much. Archie.
Yeah, hi, I'm Archie. I'm a TC in the Google Webmaster Forum, and I also do a bit of consulting work, help people fix websites, mainly the technical side of things. And in case you couldn't tell, Matt was joking. I actually don't talk much at all, so don't worry if I don't talk.
I'm going to get
See, us Webmaster TCs, we're in great demand for consulting.
We are.
Quite weird.
It's a lot of fun. And Scott, Scott Clark, you want to go and introduce yourself? I don't know if you have a mic. If you don't have a mic, that's all right. Maybe you might want to bounce out and let someone else come in who has one and participate. That would be great. We love it when everybody has a video camera and everybody participates in here. So we might as well talk, and he bounced. So if anyone else wants to come in, please do. So I say we talk about the big giant elephant in the room. The first thing, press release. We all saw that, right? We all saw the tank in traffic and press release sites. Everybody see that? Anybody not
I
see
have a
them?
clue what you're talking about. You're going to have to explain it to us all.
Barry, why don't you explain it to us?
Always got to do all the hard work.
Yes.
Press release sites. So press release sites are sites that you go to when you want to go ahead and announce a new product or a new service that you're launching. It's used to get the word out. What happens usually is the press release company will go ahead and print a lot of paper, put it overnight mail, and send it to the newspapers, telling them about new things that you're working on. And hopefully somebody will read it. There's a guy usually who sits at the desk at the newsroom who goes through all that paper and reads stuff. What happened was, supposedly, Google got upset about that, so they went ahead and decided to destroy any paper factories and no longer do press release sites are able to actually make any money anymore.
That was sarcasm.
Pure, dripping sarcasm. So a lot of these press release sites got hit, and it was interesting. I got the chance to speak to one of the head of SEOs at one of the press release sites that Barry cited in his Search Engine Roundtable post on the issue. And they went back through and they followed all of their external links site-wide, like 1 million+ pages. So now, does it really behoove and warrant wanting to put out a press release anymore? I'm not going to get a link out of it. And basically, that's what they were paying for, if they're buying a link. So does it make even sense? And I do see most press release sites doing this. They're going to have to go through and do a no-follow link on all their external links. Is it going to make sense to put your press release out there?
A press release is supposed to be for news, so if you really have something newsworthy to say, that it's possible that the press, which is who the press release is, designed to target, that they pick it up and then they actually write about you in the New York Times or something like that. Yes, but the problem is too many people, make press releases about, things like them. They went to lunch today almost is how bad it's gotten. So I think it does if you use it in the right way.
Yeah, and I'd also add, certainly, given the, contextual linking or mentions, that aren't necessarily as part of a link, we discussed this a little bit last week, absolutely has value.
No, I mean, it's something that I've been kind of talking about for a long while now, that only make a press release if there's something press release worthy to actually write about. It's really quite simple.
For example,
and this will basically force that situation. It'll stop the lunchtime brigade, as Brian points out.
If you're Dr. Dre and Apple's about to acquire your company for several $1 billion, that would be a good time to do a press release.
Yeah.
No, you just have Tyrese do a video.
That too.
Yeah, just do a video and post it, and you'll make more millions of dollars. I love my beats. I use them all the time.
But the issue is not
headphones.
So it's interesting. It's a Panda issue. It's not a Penguin issue. So
yeah,
all the negative stuff about press releases, at least around Matt Cox talking about things about press releases, is specifically around how people are using it for links. Right? So now Panda maybe it might be a manual action. We don't know exactly if it was Panda, but it probably was Panda because it didn't hit 1 or 2 sites. It hit like a bunch of large press release sites. And Panda's obviously about thin content that's not so useful and so forth, duplicate content. And that's what press releases sites are typically around, are like really a lot of duplicate content. A lot of these press releases have very thin, just gibberish content on it.
We saw and remind me, you saw Bloomberg got hit as well, correct?
I did not. I think Bloomberg, according to search metrics, it was fine. According to SEMrush, it was hit.
Yes, according to SEMrush. I saw it in SEMrush as well, but I did not see it in search metrics. Doesn't mean it hasn't been hit. I think we just need to wait another couple more days, and we should see what search metrics is saying.
Yeah. I mean, maybe part of the site was hit. I don't know. I'm not sure. Either way, that's a fairly interesting thing, and nobody's going to confirm any of this stuff. But PR Newswire is probably the largest one out there. PR Web is one of the most SEO friendly ones out there, and they all get hit like between 60 to 80 something % in terms of their SEO visibility. So now they have to go back to the paper route.
And well, Google's destroyed all the paper factories, so they're screwed.
Barry, did they disavow the no follow the site after the fact, after 4.0?
Who did no follow?
PR Wire or PR Web.
They no follow their whole entire site. What do you?
Yeah,
PVC
that's what you mentioned a while ago.
Yeah, I was mentioning that. So one of the sites out there did. I'm not going to publicly out them. You can figure it out.
What do you mean? They no follow the links out on the releases, or they no follow the whole entire? They said no follow on the.
They no followed all of their external.
All the outbound links.
That was, just to be clear, they sent out an email to their current customers about this.
They phone call conversations with current customers, their top tier customers.
Okay, and this was just made after yesterday. This happened yesterday.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and you can go and look at the site, and you can do an archive. You can even do probably a cache version and be able to see the difference right now. And you'll see that they went from followed links to no followed links. And I think it was a wise decision. I think they should have been doing that all along.
Right.
I think that they were in error in judgment to allow followed links on press releases. They were trying to become an authority on the site in the world of press releases, I think, and they pretty much do have that authority. Those sites do. And I think it would have been smart if they just said, we're going to no follow, and we're going to let the press journalists pick it up, and they can create a followed link.
Yeah, but the big thing is, a big part of their business is the SEO community, because it was being,
used and abused.
Exactly. So
more abused than used, actually.
Yes, and I think it's important too to mention that if you are a company like, or someone like Dr. Dre, and your company has just been acquired, and you do want to make a press release, you normally want to create a slightly different version of the press release and post it on your own website, and a longer version than what you provide the press release companies, and make sure it is something that's noteworthy. I mean, most real companies don't have the need to do more than one press release a month.
Okay, but
let's be clear about this. This only applies to Dr. Dre, right? This doesn't apply to anybody.
But back at again, why did they no follow yesterday when it probably, maybe we're wrong, maybe probably was related to Panda, not Penguin, unless maybe they got an manual action notification.
That's what I asked the PR girl at one of my clients. So I asked her, I said, did you ask them if they had a manual action? And she said the person that they talked to didn't even know what that meant. But they were told that all links are now no followed. So basically, the SEO guy said, we're going to no follow links, put that out there, but we're not going to put out that we had a manual action against us or did not have a manual action. They're not saying. And I wouldn't say if I was in their shoes anyways. I mean, you wouldn't do that. If you were at one of those companies, none of us here would actually say that publicly. We would not do that. And it just wouldn't happen. You're not going to publicly acknowledge that you were hit by an algorithm when you're that large of a company.
Retail Me Not said something, kind of alluded to that they were.
Yeah, but Retail Me Not can kind of get away with that because they're basically funded by Google now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, at the same time, I feel like some level of transparency is, if it's a manual action, it's possible that it could hurt some of the other sites related to it too. Even though there might be a lot of pressure not to say anything, I think the right thing would be, look, we did something, we screwed up, we're fixing it. Anybody
Right.
that's never made a mistake, raise your hand. So.
And I'll tell you this, one of my clients, it was kind of nice, when I talked to them yesterday about this. Now they're actually going to take their press releases instead of just sending them, because they were doing like one a week. I kept saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. This is bad. And they're like, well, you're just a contractor. I said, that's right, I am. And I warned you, and I would not do this. So now, because of this, the good thing is now they're going to actually start utilizing their own website to post these on. I'm like, because in reality, what is this? This is a blog post. Take your content, throw it on your own website. You can, do different stuff on there and write about stuff. And if you want to, you can make it a little bit longer, and you can just reach out to the different, news agencies that you've got relationships with, and point them to the blog post and allow them to strip out content and say, hey, if you'd like to do an interview, for a press release, for an article. And
that's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I do.
have different lists of different press release people that I want, or emails that I want. I say, here's our blog post. If you want to cover it. I don't know if press releases work that well. As a reporter myself, I do follow PR Newswire's feeds, and honestly, it just wastes a lot of my time. So I probably should stop following that stuff. Maybe I'll get I don't even know, whatever.
Yeah. All right, so let's dig into some other news. I know Barry sent me a whole list of stuff. There was some funny stuff in there. There was some good stuff. There was some annoying stuff. Barry, why don't you pull up that list?
Sure. If you want the list, it's basically from my video that I do.
I know, but I don't want to go watch that.
You don't have to watch it. There's a list of topics right under the video. So just scroll past my face and then try not to stare too long. And we can talk about eBay. That was interesting.
I think we should talk about the new
Talk about the
Google
perfect storm.
The new Google Fetch tool. How many of us have had the opportunity to use that this week?
Yay.
Not too many people in here, hopefully. Maybe everybody. What do you guys think of it? Do you guys like it?
Oh yeah, pretty cool. Love it.
What's the best part about it?
It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's just a good signal that they're spending more time on that. I mean, I looked at it. I think someone I forget who pointed it out, but the actual AJAX URLs are now broken. Like before, you can actually throw in the AJAX URLs with the shebang, and it would transpose that into escaped fragment. Apparently, there's a bug with when they rolled this out. So even if you loaded an AJAX URL, which effectively the fetch and render thing's supposed to help with like AJAX crawlability, it actually just breaks in the tool. But it's kind of cool that they're at least showing you kind of like the rendered source that they're actually seeing on their end and what they're actually pulling in, which is actually quite helpful when you're like troubleshooting JavaScript.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Well, John's mocking us. John Mueller is mocking us on the channel right now.
I was going to say, because Archie, Brian, and myself aren't safe to talk about this without the hit squads coming after us. But,
Well, if John would like to join us, all he has to do is let me know, and I'd be glad to kick someone out.
That's so nice of him.
He's gone back and forth with me on Google Plus and chat. In fact, I even see him online right now. It's green. He wants to chat. He wants to jump into this. Let me know, John. I know he's probably laughing at that.
But guys, let me ask you a question. You hear about Clicky, right? You know Clicky, the analytics software.
Right.
Yeah, I see it sometimes, and it happened probably 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, that it actually flags Googlebot when access my site. So because it's rendering, it can actually render JavaScript and probably not Google Analytics, maybe other tracking software or not.
Yeah, I mean, if Googlebot or even Bingbot was polluting your web analytics, that would totally suck. But I guess at that point, that's where the web analytics needs to adjust and look for those user agents, I guess. But yeah, it would be kind of a weird thing. But
Because I saw it, I was like, why is because I have with Get Clicky there's an option where you can basically see the real time, and it just flags me when there's a new user. It flags me. I was like, okay, what that IP? I know that IP started with 69, so I was like clicking. It was like, oh, Mountain View, California. I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, I think the fetch and render thing. The cool thing that I think is that I'm going to plug myself a little bit. Basically, I'll be talking more about this at the SMX Advance if you guys are going to be there, and Barry's going to be tabling that. But like basically, when I was looking at doing the research of it,
what's the title of your thing?
Ajax crawlability in a responsive publisher world.
I saw you post on Google Plus. It was like Ajax is like violence. If it doesn't solve your problems, you're not using enough of it.
Exactly. Basically, I mean, like I did quite a bit of historical research, and Barry has a great post, kind of like dating it back all the way to 2004. Like Google's been trying to do like JavaScript crawling for a long time, and if you even go back to 2010, if any of you guys who are remembering, remember instant previews, that thing where it would take a screenshot of your site. I mean, that's effectively a headless browser that was crawling JavaScript, taking pictures, and they're trying to do it at web scale. And they were even doing stuff where they're highlighting text inside, the actual screenshot. So I'm not surprised that the fetch and render thing is available. It's just the cool thing is now that you can actually see the source that goes with it and what Googlebot effectively sees.
Anybody else?
I think the main excitement for Google themselves when they released it was that they were just basically able to now communicate what Googlebot cannot see, what they can't get on your website. So I think most people will just look at the visualization, like the actual visually how it looks, but the main thing is what resources are people blocking. And if you look, most of the time it's just Google resources, like Google Ads and stuff. So I just find that a little bit funny. But yeah, I mean, that tool's very cool, and I'm sure it'll get a lot of use by a lot of people in this chat. When are we going to pick on my site?
You guys want to dig into his site now, or would you like to dig through a little bit more stuff?
Well, let's talk about the
we're only 20 minutes in. Let's talk about some more news.
Okay, so I would like to talk about one that Barry actually wrote about. John Mueller, who actually made a comment on it in Webmaster Central. I thought it was really kind of interesting, where the user wrote, "Is form profile backlinks hurt rankings on Google?" That guy had really horrible grammar, or maybe it's a girl, Tara Gupta, and so if you're going into the search form or Webmaster Central or any of those different types of areas in there, and you're dropping a link, is that a good idea? Would you guys do that? And John said, don't do that. That would be a bad thing. He recommended cleaning those link drops up, removing the links to your site, and not doing that in the future. Have any of you seen people do that? And what have you cautioned them against?
I have seen people do that, and I caution them against doing it because it's bad.
Oh, why?
Nicely genericized, Brian. Genericized.
It looks like spam.
Yeah.
You know what good form to spam was the Bing Webmaster form. That was a great form to spam.
Well, thank you for letting us know. Let's all head over there.
Well, it's closing down because of it this weekend.
Damn it! Another one.
Really, all forums should die, including the
Bing closed, but I think that's because nobody was going there to begin with. All right, so let's talk about being sued as an SEO. Did any of you guys see the article of where the law firm is suing the SEO?
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about that?
Talk about pot calling the kettle black, but you know.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Say that again, Masan?
I'm saying, garbage in, garbage out. You get
Shyster versus scammer.
Exactly.
You can sue anybody. You can sue anybody for whatever you want to if you have the funds to, provide the legal defense and pursuit. So.
Well, the difference here is they're not suing because they didn't get their results, they didn't get their rankings, or whatever. They're suing because the SEO company they hired specifically violated Google's guidelines, which is very interesting.
Right, they're using Google guidelines as like the standard, or in your SE Roundtable article, basically they're kind of making it almost like in law. If they actually say that if this sets precedence that violating Google guidelines is, something that
illegal,
results in, being at fault, you're effectively making Google Webmaster guidelines kind of part of SEO law at this point.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. I really would. God, I've been preaching the guidelines for the better part of a decade now.
Yeah, but the interpretation of those guidelines would be then, how far is breaking it and versus not breaking it? That would be nuts if you could get sued over misinterpretation of Google Webmaster guidelines. They're guidelines.
Fantastic.
Seems like some really dangerous precedent.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's not a law. It's a guideline.
I guess all they have to do is prove it once, though.
But even Google says you don't have to abide by its guidelines. You have the right to not abide, and they have the right to not include your search, your site in their search results. So you can do whatever you want to.
Democratic process.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom. They lost the case.
Yeah. It's,
I think we got a jury here.
Some of those guidelines are very, very specific. So,
some of those guidelines
for
are
someone
really
who
old.
just testified as an expert witness in a court case, I have to tell you that as an SEO, I would be scared as hell right now getting into a legal issue with a law firm, first and foremost. I don't think I'd want to get into it. And the reason I think that law firm is suing them is because either the guy's bill was too high. I don't really know if he was doing spammy stuff. I went and looked. I read the whole complaint. I went and did audits on those 2 sites that they mentioned, and I went and looked at them, and I dug into them, and I really didn't see anything that bad there personally. So the thing I'm worried about is, in the future, what happens if you do one thing that's out of bounds, or it's kind of in a gray area, so to speak, like Eric was saying, and then holy crap, now you're sued, and now your name is forever tainted. For some of us in this forum or in this Hangout right now, we do SEO by our name. Our reputation means more to us than anything else.
how is this any different than any other business where you could ruin your reputation if you do something wrong if you're a doctor, or if you mess up a easy legal case as a lawyer? You have insurance, you have business insurance, you have different insurance to cover things where you even even anything in the medical.
How many SEOs actually have business insurance?
I hope most SEOs have business insurance. Any business should have business insurance.
Yeah.
Any person should have insurance.
Personal, business.
Umbrella, whatever.
Umbrella,
I hope most people have an umbrella insurance policy.
Yeah, my umbrella was $1 million. After I knew Barry, it was $3 million.
Mine was the same until I told people that I knew Sash, and then holy shiz, mine went up to like 25, and I was like, screw it, no, just kidding. But yeah, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. You're going to have it, and I think there's a lot of consultants out there and stuff like that. There's a lot of firms and SEO agencies that probably don't even have that type of insurance against a claim against them for malpractice, because Like, my contracts all state that I can't guarantee anything, but I'm going to do everything I can to get you into the quality standards that you should be living by.
I think you can still state that, but somebody can sue you no matter what you state. I think it's called the errors and omissions. I think it's the errors and omissions part of the insurance. But again, I'm not a legal expert, and I am by no means qualified to give legal advice. So seek your own attorney.
Nice disclaimer there.
I was going to say that's a really professionally written disclaimer.
E&O is very important. If you have a business, you have to get the E&O. I have like crazy amounts. I've never been sued, thank God, yet in terms of business stuff or whatever. But E&O, typical business insurance. If you deal with any like credit cards or medical stuff, you need to have that type of HIPAA stuff insurance as well, as an SEO or even as a developer. So make sure you're insured. It's not worth losing everything because you have one bad client.
The question I have is, like, with that law firm, how did they find out, or how did they come up with this lawsuit? Because, a lawyer's not going to know SEO tactics or techniques with white hat or black hat. Is it going to lead to a lot of frivolous? I can't even talk. Lawsuits.
Liver failure.
Thank you.
Yeah, the wordsmith of the group, Sash, can pronounce any word. But yeah, no, I see it as being a bad thing. What they would do is they would bring in another SEO to diagnose what he did, and then they're going to have to go to court on it.
But I mean, what if the SEO was very clear about the techniques that they were using, the risks that were involved, and the firm still agreed to it, right? And then now because even though they agreed to these risks, and now you're saying like Google Webmaster Guidelines is like the Bible that I'm swearing on, like that's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
See, the thing I can see this leading to much tighter contracts and much more comprehensive disclaimers.
Yeah.
And it's like you're signing off on a certain percentage of risk, and if it goes wrong.
I mean,
you can either. It's no different if you're in the investment sector. You're going for low, medium, or high risk investments. The potential returns, but also the potential risks are proportional. It's job done.
I mean,
I think is the road it's going to travel down.
Yeah.
That's why you go to court. That's why you go to court in the first place. They're not actually getting sued unless the court decides, there's been a case brought against them, I think is the right way to put it.
Well,
and that's the thing. I mean, when it really comes down to it, I think this is going to make, for me, when I do my contracts, I'll send like an initial proposal, but I'll say the contract has to have a complete and entire scope so that only not I have what I have to do, but my client has goals that they have to do. If they don't meet what they're supposed to be told what to do and they signed off on the contract, then it's basically null and void. They still got to pay me. But it's not my fault that they didn't do the work that they were supposed to do. And, I say, hey, I'm going to meet everything in my goal set. You're going to meet everything in your goal set, and we're going to come together, and then we're done. And let's sign off on this. And when you do that, when you have your client that has goals, I whiteboard everything out, and then we list goals by importance of things that we want to do. And the client tells me what they want, and I'm like, okay, well, I need you to do this, and I'm going to do this, and you're going to have to hire a developer to do that, or I can hire one. And they're like, no, I'll hire one. Okay, fine. That's perfect. That takes sweat off my back and all that type of stuff. And then there's a clear picture, and you put that in your statement of work for your contract, and then it really comes down to no ambiguity because everything's locked in there.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it still comes down to enforcement. If they don't pay you, then you have to go after them.
Yeah, agreed. So let's have fun. Let's pick on Barry.
Barry.
What's Barry's site again? Wissam, can you just give us Barry's site again, just in case?
I think Wassam's on the phone.
How do you not know seroundtable.com? I mean, everybody goes to it every day. seroundtable.com.
What are all these nested tables? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
you know what? Tables are not a bad thing, okay?
And I'll tell you this, and I have literally testified to this. nested tables are not an issue that will cause Google to not index or rank your site accordingly.
Could affect
I'm
load
not
time
sure
though.
that word.
All right, so let's dig into Barry's site, scroundtable.com.
Barry, seroundtable.com, and the domain name Cartoon Barry both expire this year. Cartoon Barry in 42 days, so I would get that.
It's auto renew. Don't worry about it. It's taken care of.
Okay.
So the reason we're going to do this little audit here is, and let's talk about like some of the techniques of how you found like what you're going after and what you're looking at. So that way, if other people who are watching this can use the same type of stuff when they're going to look at their own site, and they can nitpick things and go, okay, so let's just do like a general broad overview. So I'm going to look at like just a visual approach to the site. Okay, he does not have ad heavy. Okay, that to me is a little bit more of a quality thing. When I see sites with ads on the top and on the sides and on the bottom above the fold, and there's more ads and just ads everywhere, I look at that as really, really super spammy. Now he does have a thing in there for advertisers, and that's leading to SMX Advanced Seattle. Got that at the top. And he says advertisement, and those are Google ads. Those are being populated through there.
They're not really Google ads.
Remarketing ad. Obviously, I've been to SMX website, and so it's trying to bring me back.
It's not a remarketing ad.
It's not a remarketing ad. What type of ad is it then?
It's a double click for publishers ad network. But it's real ads. They're real direct ads.
All right. So let's dig in. Who's next?
One of the great. Oh, go ahead.
Brian, you want to go? Go for it, Brian.
I was just going to say, if you reduce the screen size, you will also see that he's got a good bit of content that shows up even if you have a smaller screen. So that's one thing that's definitely a plus that a lot of websites don't do. Part of that's because he's got part of the navigation on the right side rather than the left and at the top. So.
Thank you. It's not responsive. It is. It's a separate design for mobile devices.
Yep.
But it should be handled properly as per Google's requirements.
Yep. And I wasn't necessarily even talking about mobile. I was just talking about different screen sizes, even on the desktop. So.
Cool. Who wants to go next? Archie, the wordsmith. Come on, man. I know your image is blocked out and you're not chatting.
I'm still looking at things. Talk amongst
I
yourselves.
was trying to get Archie. All right, Eric, you want to go?
So one of the things I like to do is use Chrome to disable JavaScript and also emulate like different response stuff. So just to see emulate different user agents like iPhone or Android. So there's nothing too spammy that Barry's doing.
Too spammy?
Yeah. You have sponsored links, right? And I know for a time that because I read Search Engine Roundtable all the time and I stalk Barry, I know that the paid links on the bottom right used to be followed, and now they're no followed. So and also they're clearly labeled as sponsored, whereas a lot of publishers, even though the FCC guidelines kind of have some kind of like guidelines around indicating whether or not something is sponsored or not, it's still not widely practiced. So these are things that to make sure that you don't get penalized for these things. And one of the few things that you start doing is like just making sure, like when you're auditing a site, the first things you're looking for are what are some blatant things that can either cause a penalty if they've lost traffic, because that's why a lot of times people hire you, or is there anything that it has high risk that you can immediately remove because it's low-hanging fruit to remove some of that risk. Another thing I looked at was I just used ViewSource, and a lot of times the first thing I search for is canonicals. So the canonical tag, if you're not familiar with it, is basically a way of consolidating all your link value to a single URL. clearly no SEO's ever worked on this site because there is no canonical tag. But it's one of those things where it's one of those things that I feel like every single site should have canonical tags. So I'm curious why either Barry's CMS doesn't easily support it, or he's just clearly just decided not to use it.
What do I need it for?
You know, if someone's like linking to you, well, I mean, yeah, you don't have any query parameters, or I don't know if you do any like tracking parameters or any of that kind of thing, right?
I removed the tracking parameters, so yeah, I don't use any of the feed burner tracking parameters and stuff like that. Yeah, honestly, if you have a site that has a lot of that stuff and you need the canonicals, fine. But for a static site, like not really static, but the URLs or the content, it's not like I have like a major filter in e-commerce filters and or article filters that need that. So I figured, no, let Google figure it out. Which is what Google always said in the past. And like, oh, fine, for all you whiny SEOs that can't build a good site, we'll give you a canonical. Like, all right.
And that's a good point. That's an excellent point.
Anything else?
I noticed on your author box underneath your articles, you do follow tags to Rusty Brick.
Yes. I trust my own site. Is that bad? And I can trust rustybrick.com, which is my corporate website.
Well, I mean, I don't know if Google's smart enough to realize that, but
Yeah.
I mean, it could be caught up in the whole, guest blogging thing.
It's a nitpicky thing, but I think Google's smart enough to realize that.
I've seen
Michael, what do you got?
I was going to comment there. I mean, I've seen a penalty situation that was due to two different owned properties that didn't really appear to be owned by the same person that they were. It was actually a footer link that was causing it, so there were, it was existing on every single page of a site rather than like in an author bio, but there's a little bit of risk there, I would say. Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting one.
All right, what else you got, Michael? Anything else?
I would say maybe to focus on some page load speed stuff. I think especially on the mobile side, it could probably be bumped up a little bit. I did a quick page speed insight test, and it's scoring like below 50 on the mobile side especially. So maybe there's some stuff that we could do there to just kind of up that score a bit.
Agreed. It needs a redesign for sure. And
yeah, lots of JavaScript and stuff like that. So stuff that you do on the desktop side would probably help the mobile too.
No, but it has an excellent time to first bite, and one thing I think is really important for a blog like Barry's that's kind of a news site is a lot of the queries that he receives and shows up for, they probably deserve freshness and QDF, and so his content's always up to date. I don't know how he has time to do everything that he does and do it as well as he does, but yeah, he's got a blog post or 2 or 3 every day, and they're not just silly things that are a lot of words that don't have any meaning. I mean, he actually goes through and finds good stuff to write about every single day, which is something that a lot of people can't pull off.
No, he's doing it multiple times a day, so he's adding a lot of freshness and a lot of contextual stuff that makes a difference.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking for negative stuff, but thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm wondering about URL structure.
Positive.
What's wrong with my URL structure?
Actually, as it goes. Because, everything seems to be kind of, almost thrown into the root directory, apart from the main sites like seroundtable.com/category/Google. But then when you follow the various links to the actual pieces, you're right back in the root. So I'm kind of wondering why you categorize it like that.
The reason for
it's more of an opinion thing. I personally wouldn't do it like that, but,
The whole canonical thing. I don't want to implement canonical, so if a story is related to multiple categories, /Google/headline name, and that might be also Google SEO, Google something else, it might be multiple categories related. I don't want the URL to change or be different based off of the category you're in. Plus, it's a shorter URL. It's all dynamic anyway, so just it's not like I'm throwing content into specific categories. or buckets. It's all dynamically driven. Does that make sense?
No, like I said, I mean it's more of an opinion thing. I was kind of wondering where you were coming from with it. Okay.
Wassam?
It does, yeah.
Wassam?
Just found out a couple internal 404s for the old forums. So.
Yep. What should I do with the old forum? Not 404 it?
Actually, you can 301 it to your seals page and give me a seal.
And for those of you who are watching and don't know what we're talking about with that, Barry actually has a seal page on his website, and where he says that there's 6 different seals, and you can get one. And it basically says that you're like a contributor, that you're a fan, a member, a moderator, a super moderator, and an author. But
I'm fine with a fan.
And so you don't even know what it looks like. But he has it. And I got to tell you, Barry, as an avid reader of Search Engine Roundtable, as most of us are here, I want my freaking seal, man.
Well, that's kind of like widget spam, so I got to be careful with that. Right?
So maybe
Did
you
you guys see
can
the
get
one
some of
that
these
Moz put out?
enterprising artists there to work on a logo, and we can put it up on some of our sites saying, I read this.
I'm thinking about, no, I should just get rid of the whole page.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, and I saw it. It just looks broken.
Everybody takes Hangout.com, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, schema.org. Yep, in-depth articles, 3 lines. Just kidding.
What's wrong with my schema?
I mean, because
I'm just trolling. So I mean, like, there clearly is not a lot wrong with the site, and the fact of the matter is, and I think sometimes like some SEOs or people who are giving advice, like when sometimes things need to just be simple, right? Like you don't need to over-engineer it, and you don't need to throw every single thing in it. I mean, your perspective of canonicals is one of those things, right? Like people I've seen, like, oh, you need schema.org. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. And to improve your SEO. The thing is, I mean, you have a particular strategy in which you want to employ, right? And it's all about the content. I mean, again, like all this research around Ajax and stuff like that, like, I mean, your site's not Ajax heavy, but also it serving what it needs to serve, right? It's simply basic static content, and effectively that, I mean, what you have is perfectly fine. I mean, you could spend all kinds of resources and stuff to make it a little bit faster, a little bit more this, a little bit more that, and while it might be incrementally a little bit better, I mean, I don't know how much you're going to additionally yield out of it. So.
Nope, and that's a good point. I mean, honestly, like you could implement, breadcrumb markup, but your face already appears for everything in search results. So I don't know if that would do a whole lot of good.
If I updated my face, maybe that would help.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, Eric, you were kind of talking about that. I had the same kind of talk with Andrew Shotland. Him and I try to meet up once a month now for lunch, and it was interesting. We talked about that. This is one of the things we always keep coming back around to, is that too many SEOs and too many webmasters are trying to put too much stuff into their pages. And it's about trying to get rid of the excess crap that does not need to be there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have a beautiful face like Barry's that's on every single page on the right rail, with the video, and you're going to attract people. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. I dropped something in the box. I think maybe that roundtable sponsors to Rusty Brick with the follow link. I think that.
I can hardly hear you. Can you move your mic closer to your? There you
Sorry, my bad. The site-wide link for roundtable sponsors, Rusty Brick, that is followed. I would consider making that a no-follow link like the rest of the sponsored links, because that's on every page of the site.
I refuse.
That's the best answer yet.
No, well, I mean, Rusty Brick is his company, and that link has been on there. It probably predates the no-follow tag, does it not?
It definitely predates the no follow
When
tag.
dinosaurs ruled the earth,
I felt
basically.
Now, I saw a penalty flagged from a footer link that was similar to this. Now, it's not in the footer, but it's the same thing. You know.
It's okay. I'm sure Google does not count it anyway, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, but this is Barry Schwartz.
Word.
Well, I mean,
Like-
there's another point of this, right? While in general practice, that's usually a good thing to point out that, hey, you've got a sponsored link that is to something that is clearly not no followed. But the thing is, like, the cases in which that gets triggered usually is
Extreme.
like at a larger scale, right? Like they're selling tons more links, or they're doing it in places and they're sending it to unrelated places that have nothing to do with that individual. And also, I mean, it's not like he's rotating this out to, Cartoon Berry and then starting up another site and doing another site and another site and another site and doing like link wheels and stuff like that. It's just one of these things that, although in general it's a good practice, it doesn't necessarily apply in all cases. And even
I agree
if
with everything
there's and even if there is something where it says like, hey, this is a negative signal, I feel like, even if it is a slightly of a negative signal, all the additional trust that's very built up over like the inbound links that are coming from different domains, as well as the content he's producing, like all those things can basically overshadow like a small little thing like that. So even if I were to advise Barry to kind of add a no follow, maybe it's something that, if it was doing an audit, like, hey, maybe you should consider this, but it would be extremely low priority, and it'd be something that is more like a business rule at that point, where they call the business to do it or not.
Articulately put. I like it.
And maybe I'm not understanding, but if it is a quote-unquote sponsored link to his own company, and he is not paying his company is not paying himself for this out of his own budget, I mean, it may not truly not qualify as a paid link that passes paid rank either way.
Yeah, but it's like self-referential, I think, is kind of the...
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting conversation.
But I think that's the point of this right now. Is that right now there's a bunch of us in here. And Archie, you're back. Did you see anything on Barry's site that you thought was interesting that he should fix as far as SEO goes?
Not a great deal, no. I did notice on like the seals page. I don't know if anyone else sees that the image links seem to be broken.
Yeah, we had a big talk about that.
Oh, right, okay. So, yeah, but no, apart from that, I didn't really notice anything else. It's the same with a couple on the awards page as well. The image files seem to be 404. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Cool. And that's kind of the thing. And hopefully people who are watching this, kind of get the perception, the idea that no matter what, you're going to have, even if you bring 50 SEOs into a room, everybody's going to have their own thing they're going to zero in on first. And then it's a matter of perception and finding out what's the real bad and what's the good. And I always say whiteboard everything out. Take every issue that you can find, put it all out there, and then walk away, go have lunch, come back, and then say, okay, what really matters by importance? And rank those and fix those things in order. And instead of just tackling the thing that means the most to you.
And one of the most important skills when it comes to being SEO is knowing how to prioritize and what's going to have the most impact, rather than spend a lot of time on stuff that are going to have no impact.
So what should I do? Name one thing I should really do.
I would do the
know what you're
schema. I would add schema, and that's it.
What schema? Which one?
For breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs. Okay.
Mobile and page load speed.
Yep.
That'd be my choice.
I personally would work on the schema as well. I've seen sites have great strides with schema.
Yeah, and I think you could fix the mobile load deal if you just remove some of the images from the mobile version. That doesn't seem like it'd be very difficult to fix.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point.
One thing that Barry does that a lot of other sites probably shouldn't do is he doesn't really provide contact information or a phone number or whatever on his contact page, and that's because he doesn't want his phone to ring off the hook because he's highly publicized. But for most companies, it's always a good idea to provide unless you're Google, to provide a contact phone number and email address.
Well, if you want to hire me, you can get that at rustybrick.com, the paid link
Well,
on the bottom of the page.
That is true.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, not a problem, and that's the thing. Hopefully others will come here over the course of the next, year, and we can do the exact same thing for them. I'd like to do these types of audits and to help people out, because that's the main purpose of this. It's us doing some pro bono work, and you're helping people out. And heck, list on your resume, list it in your LinkedIn, all that goofy stuff. Whatever you want to do, say you did some pro bono work to help others out. It's always a good thing to help others. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left. Who's got some cool things they've seen this week that we have not talked about?
What about some of the penguin talk that was happening last couple of days? There was some rumors of penguin updates, and
whoever made those rumors up, they're liars. Those scumbags.
I can't say I saw anything, but it was interesting. I mean, it seemed like there were some comments around people saying that sites that had been previously penalized with the manual action were starting to see some traction. So I'm wondering if anybody saw anything indicating that.
A lot of people saw a lot of things, and Google's saying no, we didn't see anything. So
there are people out there. There are people out there that see Elvis, and he's been dead for years.
I saw something last week that I haven't seen before, but I brought it up to you, Barry. But Google actually gave me a pop-up survey when I did a search and asked me what I thought of the search results.
Weird.
Yeah.
You might have a virus.
No, it gave me 5 different options. Like, was it?
I know. I'm just kidding. They do tests like that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, again, I believe there was something that happened on Monday and Tuesday of this past week based off of everything I've seen. And Google says nothing happened. I believe Google thinks nothing happens, but something happened, so.
But isn't that usually the case? They tell you that, and then a week or two later they say, "Oh, we're releasing, X algo."
Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to know. It's a lot of people there, a lot of moving parts. So, who knows? The most interesting thing this week was that the head of Google Search got a postcard from his local church saying, "Google doesn't have the answers for everything, or Google can't find the answers for everything." Nice. That was the most interesting news this week.
Yeah, they should probably remove his name from the list.
Yeah, but they don't know. They're just sending it out in mass email or mass mailing. So I think we're going to institute a rule, and Sash and I have been talking a little bit on private chat here, and the rule is going to be this: if you don't participate in the Hangout, like even if you ask like one question in an hour, we're okay with that. Or you talk at least a minimum of once. But if you just sit there and you don't participate at all, we're going to remove you. And because we want people to actually do stuff. Does anybody have a disagreement with that?
I hate to disagree with you.
All right. And Archie always talks once because he introduces himself at least. And that's basically going to be the way that Archie rolls. And maybe one of these days, Archie does a decent job when he has to host. And maybe we'll make him host here in a few days again, in a few weeks, and we'll make him host again and see how he does on that one. Sound good, Archie? Just give me a thumbs up, buddy. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah, that sounds good.
He spoke.
You could talk about
Archie, yeah, we're talking about. How is that plugin?
It's pretty good, yeah. I'm just about to generate the timestamps for this week, so they'll be up in a few minutes, yeah.
So when's the plugin going to go live for others to download and use themselves?
I have no idea. I haven't actually put it into a plugin yet. At the moment, it's just a couple of static web pages. I haven't really done much in the way of plugin development, so that's probably going to take a while, but we'll see what happens.
Maybe if you want to share it with some of the people in this group right here, maybe they can help you.
Cool. Yeah.
If some of you might be willing to help Archie out with a WordPress plugin. All right. Well, cool. Well,
I have a problem. 1 second.
Yeah, go for it.
The diversity in this Hangout is not that good.
I know, we need more women.
We only have, what we got here? What, Google's what? What was it? Google was 70% male?
60% male, 30% Asian, 4% Hispanic, 2% African American.
That's my biggest problem.
Oh, no,
We need a more
4%
diverse group.
mixed. There was more than one race.
We need a more diverse group here.
All right. Well, I'll let you work on that. And I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my day. I hope you guys get outside. We'll see you next week. And go and enjoy and get away from your computer.
Thanks, everybody.
See you,
Have
Matt.
a good day.